Greetings friends, Dragon here once again. Hopefully you're having a good day. If it's your first time here, do please remember to click like and subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment below, all that good YouTube stuff. Okay, today we're getting into Tampopo from 1985, directed by Juzo Itami. The world's first and possibly only ramen western. A riff on the spaghetti western term, and appropriate because this is a film that borrows a huge amount of tropes from a lot of different places. You might be looking at this and wondering why I'm covering a film that's dedicated to ramen and the making of it, but really it's an exceptional movie. Super magical, really good fun, really inventive, incredibly watchable, and just amazing. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. It's a good time. So our basic premise, we have our title character Tampopo, played by the director's real life wife, Nobuko Miyamoto. She is running a ramen shop. It's not doing very well because she's not that good at making ramen. She has a chance encounter with two truck drivers who are passing through. One played by Tsutamo Yamazaki, playing Goro, and Ken Watanabe, who you'll know from The Last Samurai, from Inception, from Batman Begins. If you haven't seen that much of his Japanese work, this is one of the first films that he did. He here is playing Gun, younger apprentice of the two truck drivers. Sorry. They agree to help her to try and turn her restaurant from a failing, struggling business into the best ramen shop in town, and that's kind of really where the film kicks off into most of its fun, as they start kind of working towards training her up. Think Rocky, but instead of boxing, it's making ramen. Training her up slowly to kind of get better at what she's doing, realizing that the individual elements that go into the dish all need to be perfected. So she needs to make better broth, she needs to learn how to make better noodles, and along the way they put together this sort of ragtag, almost like Dirty Dozen style team of different specialists from different areas. An amazing sequence where they go to track down a ramen master who's a tramp living amongst a group of other tramps on the street, and the tramps are all kind of gourmet food lovers with incredible palates, amazingly discerning at like the things that they'll dumpster dive for. Super critical, so they're going around all the hotels and the finest restaurants and going through their garbage bins and getting themselves incredible food every night, and are all really good chefs themselves, but so much fun to be had from seeing her interact with the kind of the group of tramps, and then the sort of the leader tramp becoming her broth master. It's interspersed with these little random vignettes that are all kind of wee, I guess, love letters to food and cinema in equal measure along the way. The film kicks off with this amazing performance by Koji Yakusho, playing this man in the white suit. I think he only ever gets called man in the white suit in the credits. We never learn his name, but he kind of kicks off the movie as somebody sitting in a cinema complaining about people eating too loudly in cinemas, telling the other people in the audience to be quiet, and then breaks the fourth wall and starts speaking directly through to the audience and kind of inviting us, leading us into the movie. He has a relationship with Fukami Kuroda. Again, she's never given a name. She's just, in the credits, is just listed as White Suit's mistress. And the two of them we see routinely through the film. It'll kind of come back to their story that kind of revolves around sex and food in slightly kind of kinky food sex type ways. But really that's not the main drive of the film. It's just one of many little vignettes that the film will kind of stop on or pause by in these really inventive ways. Like the camera will just drift off into a slightly different area, and in the area that it's drifted off to, you'll encounter some different characters, sometimes returning, as is the case of the man in the white suit, other times just a one little stand alone section that'll be pretty short, a couple of minutes long, and revolving around one thing. There's a tremendous one with this old lady that's going around a supermarket obsessively squeezing food, and the supermarket manager who's following her around trying to work out what she's doing. Then we'll kind of follow him as he goes off to eat his evening meal and encounter another little vignette centered around a con man, and they're all beautifully shot. The cinematography for the film throughout is incredible, by Masaki Tamura, who's also the cinematographer on Lady Snowbloods. Have you seen those movies and know how good they look? He's excelling himself here. He's kind of getting a chance to really just have a huge amount of fun. There's not an enormous amount of action, but they film the scenes that wouldn't normally be action scenes in the sort of way that makes them really dynamic, feel really alive. There's a great one great kind of fist fight that takes place almost in silhouette under a bridge. It's beautiful. It can really, really nicely shot between Goro and one of the other characters who will end up joining the gang. Of all these little vignettes that we see, the one that I find the most entertaining and the most endearing is the story of the man in the white suit, so Koji Yakusho's story. Koji Yakusho you might recognise from Takashi Miike's 13 Assassins. He plays the main kind of group leader in that movie, though obviously a lot later than this movie was made. But his little vignette sequences are easily the most engaging and the best shot and the most fun. I don't want to spoil his little arc for you, but it's fantastic. It's kind of almost a little separate great movie of its own to be seen in kind of that character's journey. It's just immensely good fun. I would heartily recommend that you try and get yourself a nice bowl of ramen to watch it with, which is what we did, and it made it a little bit more engaging, I guess, eating what you're watching them make at the same time. This is the Criterion release, spine number 868. I think it's available on Region B and Region A. I got the Region B version, so the UK release. You can pick it up pretty cheap. Comes with this excellent poster. That was the original theatrical poster of the movie, with a Criterion essay on the back. So yeah, so over the course of the movie, our ragtag group of heroes help our main character to become better at what she does. They kind of give the restaurant a makeover, and she ends up with the best ramen shop in town, which is not giving you too much of a spoiler, because really the joy here is in watching the journey that they go on. You know, kind of going into it where it's going to end up a little bit. It's a very often played out hero story of somebody who has to kind of learn or train up to get better at what they're doing. So it's not original or fresh in that way, but the way that it does it and the subject matter that it's addressing, I've never seen before in anything else. So you'll recognise an awful lot of the tropes, and you'll recognise an awful lot of the styles and the things that it's tipping its hat to, from spy movies, from war movies, from kung fu movies, from thrillers. There's so much kind of at play here, and the director's just having an immensely good time, really taking us through this, what could have been a very gentle little drama. It's presented in really such an exciting and vibrant way. I cannot recommend it highly enough. Tremendous. All the cast are fantastic. Like I say, it's shot and edited beautifully. The score's really good. It's amazing. Really, really good. I think the same person who did the score for this did the Lone Wolf and Cub movies, and I think a couple of the Zatoichi movies. Their name escapes me, but if I can remember, I will stick it somewhere in here in editing. But yeah, no, it sounds really good. It looks really good, and it's just a good time. I would say this is a 10 out of 10 movie, maybe the first one that I've given 10 out of 10 to. Certainly the first standalone one I've given 10 out of 10. Amazing, absolutely amazing. One of my favourite all-time movies about food, and I really like food. So yeah, check it out if you haven't already, folks. Thank you for sticking with this one. It's something a little bit strange for the channel, I know, but there's loads more Criterions that I want to cover, and I thought this would be a good, fun, gentle one to start with. So yeah, Tampopo from 1985, highly, highly recommended. At some point I might do a separate little video about the director, about Juzo Itami, because his own story is unfortunately a lot less fun and a lot more tragic, and we'll kind of get into maybe into his life and his tragic demise another time. But yeah, thank you very much for watching today, folks. If you've seen the movie, let me know in the comments below. If there's any other food movies that you adore, tell me about those. At some point I want to talk about Sweet Bean, and I want to talk about Jiro Dreams of Sushi, which are both also fantastic in their own way. But yeah, for today, that is us. Thanks for watching. Have a great weekend. Cheers.